Yes.
Right. Today we want to talk about the issue that is very topical. There's been rumors that the Joint Operations Command, or JOC, has taken over or wants to take over from Mnangagwa. Is this possible?
Right. Joint Operations Command, or JOC, as it is commonly known, is established. It's an establishment which is outside the Constitution of Zimbabwe and all the acts of Zimbabwe. There is no act that talks of JOC. As such, it is just an establishment which I could call the junta. It comprises of the head of the army, or rather the head of defense forces, the head of the army, air force, police, prison service, CIO, you know, and then the presidium. And currently, yes, it is headed by Chiwenga, but at the mess of ED. There is no way JOC can take over or can make any decisions that are contrary to what ED or Mnangagwa wants. There is no way. Because the moment JOC becomes a joke to him, he will deal with them ruthlessly. They know it, that if they don't subscribe to the commander-in-chief, remember, they are all under the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief being the president of the country, who is E.T. Mnangagwa at the moment. In terms of Chapter 1102, the Defense Act, that is how it is. So it is not possible.
Okay. So how come Mugabe was removed by military generals? What happened? What did he miss, which Mnangagwa is doing right?
Right. You should remember that ever since these people came from the liberation struggle, Mnangagwa has been holding key positions from 1980. Yes, here and there in between, he was put on useless ministries, but he still was playing a very crucial role in the shaping of the Zimbabwean government. He is the one who was doing all the dirty work of Mugabe. But Mugabe was happy as he had somebody who was doing the dirty work. But one thing that Mugabe was not aware of was that he was equipping ED to be a monster, to be the biggest threat for him. So Mnangagwa, over the years, managed to place people on sensitive positions, particularly members of the army. He managed to put them in key positions as time went by. Chiwenga himself managed to climb up to Defense Forces Commander, regardless of the fact that he is, you know, what can I say? I don't want to say he's not educated, because some people will say he has got some papers, but he's just an ignorant person. As far as I'm concerned, he does not have the capacity. He did not have even that capacity to be where he was, but he was put there by Mnangagwa based on the arrangements and agreements that they made before. So all these people were being kept by Mnangagwa, and Mugabe was just using Mnangagwa. Mugabe had power within the CIO, and the CIO, as you know, is just a civilian organization. CIO has no teeth. They cannot stand and fight the army. They cannot. They are just the brains, yes, but also they duplicated within the army. They came up with military intelligence, which is also almost equivalent to the CIO. So whoever controls the army then becomes the big man. If you recall that when Mnangagwa was fired by Mugabe, he ran away, but he told Mugabe before he left that he was coming back in 2 weeks' time. And remember, he said it just openly like this before he had even spoken to Chiwenga, because he knew that he had all the keys and corner posts for what he was going to do. So this is why Mnangagwa was able to do that, it was not necessarily the JOC that did that, but it was Mnangagwa through his connections that he had put in different places. Remember, all the key positions were being held by the people that subscribed to him. So that was possible because of that.
Okay, so what you are saying is that it's not possible for General Chiwenga to remove Mnangagwa.
Totally not possible. I can bet my last dollar that Chiwenga will not and cannot be able to remove ED because he does not have what it takes to do that. Chiwenga, through Mnangagwa, managed to remove Mugabe, but it was actually Mnangagwa doing it, not Chiwenga. All the dots were being connected by Mnangagwa from outside. Remember, Chiwenga went to China, and from China, at the airport, Mugabe failed to arrest Chiwenga. All that, they were myths or dots, or that was being done by Mnangagwa. ED was the one who was playing all that chess to be able to Chiwenga not to be arrested. And so it is not possible. Chiwenga has no capacity whatsoever to remove Mnangagwa. People should forget about that. I've always been saying this, and I will continue, and I maintain this. It's not possible.
Okay, so when Chiwenga is going to China and he's going by himself, this is where the rumors are coming from, that the Chinese are working with Chiwenga. What is happening there? Are the Chinese working with Chiwenga?
Look, whatever Chiwenga is doing, he is doing it on behalf of ED. Yes, people say that, and ED will be laughing behind closed doors. He will be laughing to say, yes, now they don't know what they are doing. So there is no way Chiwenga can go to China now and again and again and again. Rumors are saying that, but ED still allows Chiwenga to go to China, and Chiwenga comes back. And people continue to make those rumors. And then I think people should not accept that. He is going there on an agreement with Mnangagwa. Without that, he cannot survive. You see, the military, Zimbabwean military, one thing that people should know is that it is cunning. If you do things and you are suspected to be doing it against them, they simply kill you. They don't hesitate to kill. They don't. So who is Chiwenga? Is he made of steel not to be killed? They can kill him 2 minutes. They don't need anything. Nothing is stopping them from killing him. But the main reason why he is not being killed is because these are lies. People should not listen to that. This is manufactured by military intelligence so that they take people's attention and focus and they focus people's attention on wrong things, leaving the right things. People will not have the time to plan for good things that can liberate them simply because they focus on the wrong things altogether. That line of thinking where people say, no, Chiwenga is going to remove ED is absolutely false and it's nonsense.
Okay, then in terms of the other people around Mnangagwa, who else is capable of removing Mnangagwa by force?
Within their systems, there is nobody, absolutely. There is nobody, forget about anybody within their systems being able to remove Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa can only be removed by people who are outside. I don't mean outside in terms of outside Zimbabwe, but who are outside that system. If people have got hopes that the system is going to remove ED, then they are joking, because ED is their best bet at the moment. There is not even one who has got the capacity to perform anything better than Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is more connected than everyone else. I'm not trying to defend him, but I want people to understand this so that then people can come up with better plans that can remove ED. ED can be removed by the public or by people who are outside the system. provided the people engage their minds and they really want to do it, then they can do it. So as long as the people of Zimbabwe have hopes that there is someone close to Mnangagwa who can remove him, then they will lose focus and we will delay to remove this rogue regime. This rogue regime is easy to remove, but provided we come together and do one thing together. I know there are so many people who are saying now, no, you see, there is this Supreme Court judgment. It was made by ZANU so that they can disturb the 2023 elections. All that is fuck all. It's rubbish, because 2023 elections will be rigged. It is results already in Mnangagwa's house. If people just begin to understand that, then we can come up with a better way of removing them now through other means, other than doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's stupidity. I don't know why Zimbabweans, we don't see this issue of anyone removing Mnangagwa within their system is fuck all. It's nothing. That will never happen. So there is nobody. We have to plan something new and perfect.
Okay. Chiwenga has been given a lot of responsibilities recently. He's running JOC, he's running Command Agriculture, he's running the Food and Nutrition, I think, committee, he's running the Coronavirus Task Force. Why do you think they're giving so many responsibilities when he's sick?
Yes. That shows trust. It means Mnangagwa he has got trust in Chiwenga. After all, even if he is sick, it's not him per se doing it, but all the people who are tasked. He will, in turn, Chiwenga will simply task certain individuals, their lieutenants, to be working on those things. He puts a lieutenant to be on coronavirus, whatever task force. He puts another one on that one. He puts another one on that one. They come and report to Chiwenga, and the Chiwenga secretary compiles all this, makes a report which goes to ED. ED reads it. It's not even him reading it, to be read by another secretary, and like that, and they are moving on. It all shows that there is trust within these two guys. They trust one another. That's why they give each other. Because if you're a leader and you are giving your subordinate responsibilities, they will feel that they are being honored. But if they are sidelined, then they say, oh, what is going on? So this is an indicator that actually shows that these two are not even at loggerheads. They are, they're in good books.
Okay, so the Zimbabwean army, would you say it's properly structured in terms of laws and in terms of its operations?
Right. They are governed by Chapter 11.02, the Defense Act, Chapter 11.02, and there are enactments which are within that chapter, and some of them are old, and there is a lot of alignment which is supposed to be done for that act to actually be in line with the present constitution. But nothing has been done. There is a lot. Actually, the most of it is in terms of as way back as 1972, as it was done by the then government. So this regime of ours, they just saw that no, that those provisions which were put in place, they favored them, and so they just left them within this chapter. And so this is not well structured. It is not well structured in that it is not in line with the constitution, the present constitution.
So are you saying the Zimbabwe National Army is not a professional military at the moment existence? Where is the problem?
Yeah, it is not quite professional because there is no army in the world that is allowed to be aligned to a political party. In this sense, from ever since, in fact, from 1980, the Zimbabwe National Army was not allowed to be aligned to even ZANU-PF. They were not allowed unless they had left the army or those top guys. But from 2000, this Chiwenga addressed the whole army and said, now I came to you, I told you last time that nobody should be aligned to any political party. But I'm coming to you again now and telling you that everyone in the army must do slogan. And the slogan that we respect is only Pamberi Nezanu. So in other words, they were politicized. They began to, or they became a political entity, a ZANU-PF political entity from 2000. And that then, made them an unprofessional army, because there is no army that should be aligned to any political party. So that is the biggest problem. And so whatever decisions they make, they are now political decisions in favor of ZANU, which is not supposed to be the case, because the army is not a ZANU-PF army. It is a national project. They are supposed to save the nation. They are supposed to save the people of Zimbabwe, respecting the constitution. But at the moment, they don't respect the constitution. They respect what they are told, whatever the orders that they get, which some of them which are totally ultra biased.
Okay, so can you say the problem is the Defense Act, or is it Chiwenga? How does Chiwenga become powerful in the army when he's now the vice president?
It's both. The Defense Act, as I said, is not aligned to the constitution, and they are deliberately leaving it without being aligned. Secondly, it's the command structure, starting from Mnangagwa himself, who is the commander-in-chief, as well as Chiwenga, who is also running the show, and their military commanders, because they are wielding political powers as well as military powers. Instead of the commanders should only wield military powers, which are in line with the constitution. But at this moment in time, they are wielding both military powers as well as political powers. And the political powers, they are only ZANU-PF political powers, which is weird, and that is not acceptable at all. So it's not an army, it's a ZANU-PF militia. It has been turned into a ZANU-PF militia.
Okay, so let's look at Opam Chinguri, who is the defense minister, Valerio Smanda, who is the commander of the defense forces, and General Chiwenga. How do these three share power?
Yes. You see, at the moment, in terms of the constitution, Chiwenga should not wield any power within the military. They should not, but the way they designed it now, which is not in line with the constitution, it's like, because Valerio Smanda is the defense forces commander. He is the leader of the army and the air force. The army is an entity of the defense forces. The air force is another entity. At the moment, the army has got around 30,000 active members. The Air Force has got around 4,000 active members. That makes it around 34,000, 35,000 active members. So these two combined, they are led by Valerio Smanda, who is on top, the Defense Forces Commander. And then this Valerio Smanda reports to the Minister of Defense, who is Opam Chinguri, whatever the name now. So he reports to Opa, who is the Minister of Defense. And then the Minister of Defense is supposed to report straight to the Defense Forces Commander. At the same time, the Defense Forces, the chief, the Commander-in-Chief. At the same time, in terms of the Defense Act, the Defense Forces Commander reports to the minister, at the same time reports to the president. There is that provision, which is in order anyway. But at this moment in time, they say that the minister goes to the commander-in-chief through the vice president, who is Chiwenga. And the vice president is the one who chairs JOC. Then he comes in. JOC becomes, because JOC comprises of all the state security agents. So something like that is quite weird. It's not quite in order.
Okay, so what is the problem there with that reporting arrangement where there's OPA, General Chwenga, and Valerio Spanda? Is Valerio Spanda now a lame duck? He doesn't have any authority.
Yes, he doesn't have any authority because the authority is diluted. Because there is Chwenga. Chwenga, because the minister reports to Mnangagwa through Chwenga, it means Chwenga can actually talk to someone who is even below Valerio Spanda. He can talk to the army commander or to the Air Force commander directly without going through Valerio Spanda. So sometimes Valerio Spanda Chwenga might give some directives to the army which are outside Valerio Spanda. So there is a likelihood of possibly two-way or more than two-way channel of communication, multiple channels of communication, which is not the way it should be. So some orders might be given which are outside the correct line of command.
Okay, is Valerio Spanda a good person? Many people think he's not part of all this dirty work that is going on.
I know people don't understand. People don't really understand this. Valerio Spanda, in the first place, is not in Ndebele. Some people think he's Ndebele. It's not Ndebele. He's from Berengwa and is close, very, very close relative of Mnangagwa. Yes, some say he's a young brother or whatever, but he is a very close person, very closely related to Mnangagwa. So he is not a good person because he is part of this system, this junta system. There is no way this system can keep Valerio Spanda, who opposes them. Some reports were saying Valerio Spanda wants is telling the system that they must do this. No, there is no way that is not possible because everything that is done within this system, they sit down as JOC and talk about it together and see, okay, here we are going to fall. Let's do this, let's do that. So whatever Mnangagwa announces, it has passed through all these levels and they agree. So when you label Mnangagwa bad, you should also label all these guys, Chwenga, Valerio Spanda, and so on and so forth. They are also bad. They are all not good. There is nothing that can be good out of this team, actually.
Okay. How does Mnangagwa make sure that he doesn't get betrayed by JOC, since he doesn't sit in JOC?
This is a family affair, I could say. It's a family affair. JOC is just a joke in that it is a family affair. Majority of those who sit in JOC, they are closely related to Mnangagwa by blood. And then others who are not closely related to him through blood, they have a certain history that makes them closer to Mnangagwa. So this is an affair which is being done by people who are so close. So Mnangagwa can afford to fly to whatever country while this JOC is sitting. He knows what they are doing is within his interest. So there's nothing.
Okay. Now let's look at the tribal balance. Is there a tribal balancing taking place within JOC?
Absolutely no. There is no tribal balance. We would want to see players coming from all corners of Zimbabwe, representing all people. Because right now, as it is, if another tribe, for example, they've got something very pressing, they do not have any means of getting it very fast to the powers that be, because there is no tribal balance, which is very, very important and critical. But there isn't, because those people who are within the JOC, most of them are just the Mberengwa boys, the Mashingo boys, and so on, who are just part of this ED. There is no, they hide by these names, Svanda, Moyo, like that, so that, they fool other tribes into thinking that they are well represented, but they are not. They are part and parcel these Karanga people from Mashingo and Berengwa and the like. So there is no tribal balance at all.
Okay, then in the Defense Act, is there a body called the National Security Council?
Right. The National Security Council is a body that was established, or that is in terms of the Constitution. I can't remember exactly the section. I could have said it straight away. It's in terms of this, the Constitution. Remember, in the Constitution of Zimbabwe, there is Section 96, Section 97, Section 98. Section 96 actually says, for the purposes of the army is set up for the purposes of defending Zimbabwe. Is established in terms of this. That's in terms of Section 96 of the Constitution. So the Defense Act is in terms of, okay, it's chapter 11.02, yes, but it's in terms of the Constitution, Section 96, 97, and 98 is provided. But then the National Security Council is also in terms of those sections because it's part of the defense. That section does not talk of JOC. It talks of national security. National Security Council, it is comprised of members of the security services plus other policy makers who come from, different ministries, as well as, it should be a well-balanced, council that runs the defense, that runs the army or the military, and running other, state agents. But that board is there, yes, but it's not quite effective simply because it's overtaken by these other pseudo groupings like JOC and others.
Okay, then what is the role of Parliament when it comes to the military?
The role of Parliament, of course, as usual, the Parliament makes these the acts and what have you. They go to the people, hear what the people want. They come to Parliament, they sit down, they come up with these laws and so on. So Parliament is supposed to actually be there to make sure they approve everything that goes on, that is done. Particularly when it comes to deployment of the military outside Zimbabwe. It's sanctioned by the Parliament. The military cannot be deployed outside Zimbabwe without the Parliament coming in. When the military is deployed within Zimbabwe, then for a certain period, I can't give specificities here, but the point is the Parliament has to sanction everything that is done by the military because it involves expenditure. Anything that involves expenditure, it has to eventually get to the Parliament for Parliament to see and account to the people that no, right now we are deploying the army because it is necessary to do that. But in Zimbabwe, it's not happening like that. The army is just, it gets deployed without any explanation and no one asks. Even the Parliament, I see their mum, they don't even talk about it. They don't even ask. If they were asking, then they must be making noise and it must be coming out in newspapers, in the media, so that we get to know and the public gets to know what is going on, which is quite amiss. So that's the role of Parliament. It must come in when things that are not going on well are happening. They must come in and talk about them.
Okay, so among the bodies that we've mentioned, which is National Security Council, Parliament, JOC, who can address issues when they arise?
Yeah, obviously, it's it depends on which issues. But if it is to do with dirty work, anything dirty that the state wants to do, they want to do dirty work to the public, they use JOC. JOC does not decide anything good for the people. They only decide when they want to oppress the people. That's why I want to call this JOC, I want to call it the junta. That is the real, that's where the definition of junta actually applies on the JOC, because their decisions are only primarily on those things that safeguard themselves and not the public. But Parliament is there to make decisions on the interests of the public, and this is the reason why Parliament is not then mostly respected or used when it comes to military decisions. Military decisions are just made by Mnangagwa and team and the JOC without involving the Parliament effectively, without involving the people effectively.
Okay, so we saw that the Mohlante Commission made some recommendation, and the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission made some recommendations, but they were all ignored. What is the next step in a case like that?
Yes, those recommendations were ignored simply because they protected the people, and the junta itself felt that then it was being put at a fix, because then they are not able to do exactly as they will, as they wish to do. They want to continue oppressing people. They want to kill people willy-nilly without anyone asking, and so on and so forth. They want to loot funds, resources. They don't want to account to anybody. And so all those things, if the recommendations were followed, then those things would not be happening. But because they don't want to do what is good for the people, they chose to ignore. And so who can then come in and help? It is very difficult, because the powers that be, which is the president and his team, they are not willing to follow those things. The only thing that is left is for the people of Zimbabwe to take the power into their hands and make sure that they become independent, they become free from such a regime. This regime is not for the people, it is against the people.
Okay, then in terms of funding, how is the military being funded at the moment?
Yes, the military is taking quite a huge chunk of the budget of the country. In addition to the budget, don't forget that behind the scenes, the military also controls national resources like minerals. So the junta, these high-ranking officers within the army, the police, the CIO, the top guys, they have got some shares within diamond mines, gold mines, platinum, and so on. The minerals, they are getting loads of money from there, which they are pocketing, which is outside their salaries. So in addition to just the budget that people see, you and me can see the budget, but they have got much bigger chunk from the minerals. They are being paid indirectly. And these are just arrangements that they make outside the public knowledge. So the army, not ordinary army members, the ordinary young army officers, they don't get anything. But those top-ranked guys, they are getting a lot. And this is why they would protect this regime at all costs. It is because they are the ones that are enjoying the cake of the country through those illegal, deals which they are doing. Not only that, the budget that goes to the army is meant to, some of it to procure, whatever the army wants, be it uniforms, be it equipment, whatever. So there is a lot of dirty work going there, because these high-ranked officers, they exchange. Someone is buying uniforms, another one is buying bullets, another one is buying something. They facilitate the buying, and through that way, they overcharge and take a lot of money from there. Something that should cost, let's say, 100,000 will end up costing maybe 1 million, and the other 900 million has been 900,000 is taken by those people who are involved in buying. So there is a lot of dirty work going on within the military, and nobody asks because they are above the law, as it is. That is not acceptable.
Okay, then in terms of the companies, how many companies does the military have?
Yeah, the military has got, I'm not sure of the figure now, exactly how many they are, but they've got some companies which, there are two things here. They've got some, they own some companies which are out there to do something. And also individuals within the army, high-ranked individuals, they form some consortiums, some groupings which also control the resources. So there is the issue of army companies. The proceeds from these companies are taken by the high-ranked officers. The proceeds do not go to the military per se. No, it's not like the army has got another account where they actually, the income that comes from the army operations go into that account. No, that money is shared by the top officers. So it is their money which is outside, because there is no way where the Minister of Finance has ever announced that we got so much from the army, from the operations of the army, they've actually managed to bring in so much into the treasury. No, but the money, the treasury simply sends, pays the army its budget, but not the other way around. So all this money is just taken by individuals.
Okay, so what needs to be fixed there? Is that not one of the reasons why there are these issues around the military, that people are now there for financial gain instead of for saving the country?
Of course, yes. Thank you for that. That is very true. The individuals, high-ranked officers within the army, even if there is such whatever recession, whatever inflation, they don't mind, because they still get their US dollars through those illegal deals, and they will never leave the army because they are benefiting out of it more than anything else. They won't even retire. It's a pity. The Zimbabweans should understand this. Zimbabweans should see this. This will help Zimbabweans to think otherwise, because we are going nowhere as a country. Guys, if anybody still thinks that 2023, the ZANU-PF will be removed by any opposition party through elections, that person will be joking, because of all these things, all these benefits which they are getting, they are not willing to leave power. They will never allow anyone to get closer to it. So we must come up with some other ways of removing the whole system. If we don't remove the whole system, then there is no way of correcting all these problems. We cannot.
Okay, now let's look at the ordinary soldier. Currently, there is the training facilities at Gweru, and there's another training facility in Harare. Can you give us more detail on those?
Right. There is military training is done in at many different places. One goes on in Bulawayo at a place called Balawala. Towards Gwanda, from Bulawayo towards Gwanda. Another one goes on at Llewellyn Barracks, which is also towards Harare, Bulawayo Harare Road, Llewellyn Barracks. Another training goes on in Gweru, yes, at Zimbabwe Military Academy. That one, they train officers. If you want to become an officer, you are trained at the Zimbabwe Military Academy. And at the same time, if you want to get promotions within the military, within the officers, the commissioned officers, is also done at Zimbabwe Military Academy in Gweru. There is also training that goes on in Nyanga. There is a military place where they train members of the army there, and a lot more other trainings like artillery, which is done in Kwekwe, and also in other different places. So there are so many different places where the army is trained. Over and above that, ZANU-PF, I don't want to say Zimbabwe government, but ZANU-PF is training. They take youngsters from the rural areas, those who are unemployed. They are taken to Shamba. Shamba is predominantly a training base for the support unit, but then now they are using it to train the army secretly. And these army people, they are being taken from the rural areas, and they are taken there, they are trained, and they are deployed within, some of them within the camps, some military camps, some of them within the support unity camps, in preparation for any uprising that comes in the country. They want to thwart it using those people. And those people, because they are straight from the rural areas, and they open, the ZANU opens some, some Nostro accounts, put some money there, they feed them. So these boys don't see, they don't even see that what is outside. They say, no, this is the best government because they gave us employment. Now they're giving us food, beans with, and sometimes horse meat and so on, elephant meat. So they say, no, this is the best government. They don't understand the plight of the people because they say they've been removed from poverty. So this is what is happening right now. The people of Zimbabwe ought to be aware of this. And they are training batches and batches and batches, and they're being deployed within the different places of Zimbabwe in preparation for any uprising so that they can kill people. These are no different from those North Korean trained people who killed people in Matabele. So we are aware of all that.
Right. So what is the difference between the training provided at Gweru and the training provided at the university?
No, that's quite different. The training that is at the university, those are studies, defense military studies, where you are studying a professional course. But at Zimbabwe Military Academy, you are following mainly tactics, the way you should command soldiers. How do you command soldiers? What is the psychology behind commanding soldiers? How do you position yourselves when a war, when you are engaged in a war? How do you move with your forces? How do you instruct them? How do you, communicate with your guys on the ground, and all those kind of things? So it involves theory. It also involves a lot of physical training, because that officer, cadet officer, has to be very strong and physically fit to be working with his, other ranks as they fight the war. But when you go to the University of Zimbabwe, you are now studying military studies at higher levels, where you are now looking at the psychology, the sociology of the military, and how the military started and so on. It doesn't require you to be physically fit. It only requires you to have brains. So you are involved in planning the war rather than executing the war. But those who are trained at Gweru, they execute the war. They are the ones who get involved in the war as on the ground fighting.
Okay, so do you think the lower ranks of the army, those that have gone to those universities, the cadet officers, they have got a different ideological understanding to the top ranks that we talked about, that are in the junta?
Well, when they are trained at Gweru, well, now it might have changed, but they used to train professionally at Gweru, where you would focus on just defending the nation. But things might have changed now, where they are now introducing this Herbert Chitepo ideology, school of ideology. People go there to be indoctrinated. And those people who are indoctrinated at Herbert Chitepo school of ideology, they also go and also preach the word within the military forces and the training institutions and so on. So they are, they start to give them this ideology from those levels going up. So yes, the thinking might be different, but not very much different. The people who, most of them, who are not, who think probably straight, are those junior officers who have not gone through things like Zimbabwe Military Academy. Who have trained at Balawala, who have trained at Llewellyn. They've done just basic infant training, which is 6 months training. Yes, those don't think like the junta. They still understand because they are not being paid well. Those are the guys that are oppressed. Those are the foot soldiers who fight on the, who are commanded by those who come from Zimbabwe Military Academy.
So is it possible that there can be an uprising from the lower ranks?
That is very possible. That is very, very possible. The possibility comes in when there is somebody who has coordinated them. It's difficult for just one, the way they set up the army is what is difficult, because each camp, has got its own soldiers. So it's either you are working at camp A or camp B or C or D or whatever. So at that place, even if you are 200 of you at this camp, you think of, doing an uprising. It's only you. It's difficult for them to communicate with camp B or camp C or camp D. So it needs somebody to connect all that. If somebody can be able to connect them, yes, then that uprising will succeed. Because those are the people who are useful, because they are the ones who are commanded, who hold the gun. Unlike these big tummy guys, the junta, they have got big tummies. They don't even fight. They only use the word of mouth to give orders. So they are useless as far as when it comes to, they don't matter when it comes to firing the gun.
Okay, so it's clear that this system is very difficult to dismantle.
It is.
How would you proceed if you were to, let's say Zimbabwe People Power Movement is now taken over. What would you do to dismantle this system?
No. There are two things here. One, what should the people do? I will not dwell on that one. I don't want to dwell on how should the people dismantle it now. Let's leave that. Let me move on to, suppose Zimbabwe People Power Movement is now in power, and we will be in power, certainly. And once we are in power, then we will restructure. It's very simple to restructure. Obviously, we will have to reduce the army, because the youngsters need to be promoted. They need positions. But right now, they cannot be promoted because the positions are all held by these people who do not want to retire, because they want to continue looting. So we will retire all these juntas. We will retire them and fill up the positions with the youngsters, young blood, who will then move up, rank by rank. Whenever their time of getting a position or promoted is due, they move up. But right now, it's not the situation. So we are going to do the best for them, for the youngsters, and we will make sure that the youngsters are well paid, are well looked after. They progress in terms of what the law says. Nobody will be oppressed. That's how we do it.
Okay, in other countries, how do they deal with the situation like what we have now? The JOC, the National Security Council, the officers, and actually, separation of powers.
In other countries, there is a total separation of powers, where the military does not engage themselves. They don't mess up with the political side. Politics is for the civilians, and administration of the country is run by the civilians. The army does not get involved whatsoever. And that is what is very, very important. That's what should be done. The army should be totally separated from politics and from running of government. Running of government should not involve the army or the police or what. No, it should be, so there should be a complete separation of powers. That's exactly what we will do.
Okay, I think we've had a very good discussion. And if someone did not understand the issues, now they understand what the issues are.
Yes.
What would you say? Are we not creating another layer that is just waiting to take over where these other guys are? So if a new government was to come in, wouldn't they just disturb that new government and continue with this process which the army is doing now?
No, it's not possible because you see, this situation is there simply because the leaders who are there today, they are not willing to do the right thing. But otherwise, the people of Zimbabwe, including the army, young officers within the army, the police, CIO, and so on, they are crying for the right thing because they are suffering. They want the right things to be done. They want our country to progress from where it is into and beyond. So there is no way the army will be able to do that provided a credible government comes into play. It comes in and it takes over and they move. But what is difficult at this moment in time is how the next government can get in. Is it through elections? That will be rigged by ZANU. Is it through negotiations? That will not work. Is it through whatever? So it's about the matrix of this matter is only on how do we get in. That's the matrix. And that's what Zimbabwe People Power Movement is working on.
Right, Mr. Albert Matapo from the Zimbabwe People Power Movement. I'm very happy that we had this discussion. Is there anything else that you want to say before we close?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say the people of Zimbabwe should not be afraid. People of Zimbabwe, never ever be afraid. Let us unite, do one thing. Zimbabwe People Power Movement is a social movement. It's not a political party. Some people want it to be a political party. Some people want to equate it with political parties. No, we are not. We are a social movement. We accept people from all walks of life so that they can come and we work together to remove or to take power from ZANU-PF who are illegally holding it, so the nation can move on smoothly. This is the opportunity. Anyone who is thinking of 2023 elections, who is advocating to go for 2023 elections, is actually indirectly or directly supporting ZANU-PF. Let us forget about that. Let's remove ZANU now. Let's do something that will take power from ZANU now. We will do it peacefully. We are not a terrorist organization. We are a peace-loving organization. We will do it through legal means and we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Albert Matapo, and I'll have you back again very, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.